childhood sweetheart's son had a high fever, so my newlywed husband left me, his bride, to take care of his childhood sweetheart and her son all night without returning. The next day, he took my dowry money to buy nutritional supplements for someone else's child. I became the laughingstock of the entire village, with some even calling me the overnight bride and giving me nicknames. In my previous life, I was just a housemaid who had her job taken away and ended up taking care of their entire family. I stayed at home, looking after his sick parents. Reed Cheng, however, let Kala's son move into the family quarters assigned to us by his workplace. Out of his monthly salary of 63 yuan, he only contributed 13 yuan to the household, which was supposed to cover the living expenses of the whole family, while the rest was given to Kala's son. It's almost laughable. In my past life, the only reason Reed Cheng and I ever consummated our marriage was thanks to Kala's son's father. If he hadn't broken his leg, forcing Kala's son to go home and take care of him, Reed Cheng and I would probably have remained a married couple in name only for the rest of our lives. Kala's son threw a tantrum when she found out, calling me shameless, saying all I did was flirt with men all day long and constantly think about that kind of thing. Reed Cheng actually went to comfort her, saying it wasn't my fault, that he lacked self-control and couldn't resist. That was the first time Reed Cheng ever spoke up for me. How ridiculous. Having to explain marital relations to someone else. That one time, I got pregnant. When I was 7 months along, Kala's son's son pushed me into a river. I was rescued and taken to the town hospital, but I lost the baby. The impact caused severe abdominal bleeding, and my uterus had to be removed. I wanted to report it to the police, but Reed Cheng refused. If you report this to the police, we'll get divorced, and you'll never be able to have children again. Who would want you then? Don't worry, I'll treat you well, and I'll have my nephew take care of you in your old age, but I would rather get divorced than not report it to the police. Reed Cheng was afraid I would report the case, so he kept me under house arrest. My biological father died saving the factory from a fire. After his death, the factory gave me a job placement quota, which Reed Cheng ultimately gave to his sister-in-law. After my father's sacrifice, my mother disappeared without a trace. I was taken in by my uncle, though taken in is a generous term, as his family simply moved into the brick house my father had built. I don't know what benefits Reed Cheng offered my uncle, but his initial fury over the incident gradually turned into attempts to persuade me. In the end, with no way out, I jumped into the river to end my life. The courtyard gate was knocked upon. My husband's first love, Kala's son, stood at the entrance holding a child, pleading for help. Reed, Huzi has a fever. Can you help me take him to the commune clinic? Woo-woo. Reed Cheng pushed me away from his embrace and immediately started getting dressed. You're not allowed to go. Her family is from this village, and it's not like she doesn't have siblings. Why should you go on your wedding night? While putting on his shoes, Reed Cheng coaxed me. Zia Shu, you know her family situation. Her brother won't take care of her. Furious, I stepped barefoot onto the floor. No matter what, you can't go. Even if her brother won't help, there's still her father. Tiger's uncles have always been good to him. It's not your place to interfere. Reed Cheng grew impatient. Dong Hui was my brother. Now that he's gone, I'll do everything I can for his wife and child. Stop making things difficult. I grabbed Reed Cheng, refusing to let him leave, my eyes red with anger. Reed Cheng, it's our wedding night. If you walk out now and word gets out, how am I supposed to face the village? Reed Cheng hesitated visibly, but the knocking outside grew louder, and he still chose Kala's son and her child. I promise I'll come right back after dropping them off. It's not safe for a woman and a child to travel at night. Besides, no one will know I left. I still held on, refusing to let him go. In a fit of anger, he shook me off, and I lost my balance, hitting my forehead on the desk. Blood instantly started flowing. Startled, he quickly helped me up and laid me down on the kang. Reed Cheng, my head is so dizzy. It's okay, the wound is very small. You rest for a while. I'll take the mother and child and come right back. My head was too dizzy. I didn't have the strength to argue, and all I heard was the sound of the door closing before I passed out. When I woke up again, the sky was still dimly dark. Reborn, I sat dazedly on the kang. the bright red double happiness character on the wall glaringly conspicuous, I picked up the mirror, examined my wound, and gave it a simple treatment. I wasn't alone, I still had my grandmother, who had always loved me dearly. Glancing at the clock, I got off the kang and opened my dowry chest. From it, I took out a brand new bedsheet, bundled up all the grain coupons, meat coupons, money, property deed, household registration, job assignment documents, and new clothes into a large package. After locking the chest again, I wrote a plea for help, shouldered the heavy bundle, and headed straight to my grandmother's house. Grandma is getting older and wakes up quite early. She was sewing shoe soles in the house when she saw me and was very surprised. "I'll keep it short, Grandma, I'm getting a divorce. Can you help me hide these?" When Grandma saw my forehead, her eyes instantly reddened, without asking another question. She led me to a corner of the pig pen. Beneath a pile of weeds, there was a vegetable cellar. After putting the things away, I reassured my grandmother and hurried back to the Cheng family. Feeling a bit weak, I lay down and slept for a while longer. Early the next morning, Reed Cheng returned, carrying the child with his little first love following behind as they came back to the village. An aunt teased, "Reed, off doing good deeds again. Reed just loves helping others. Ha ha ha, all the way." There were the aunties' teasing remarks and laughter. How could Reed Cheng not hear the teasing in their words? He just smiled without responding. Rumors are spreading like wildfire in the village at this moment, and my nickname as the neglected daughter-in-law has once again been confirmed. After escorting Kala's son and her child back, he returned home without even sparing me a glance, heading straight for my dowry chest. Seeing the dowry chest locked, he finally turned to look at me. There I sat on the kang, staring straight at him, the shocking wound on my forehead clearly visible. Guiltily, he wiped his face. There were few people at the clinic yesterday, and Kala was scared being alone there, so I stared at him without saying a word. He sat by the kang, took my hand, and said, "Xia Shu, Huzi is quite ill and needs some extra nourishment. Could you give me some of your meat and sugar ration coupons?" Reed Cheng and his best friend both fell for Kala's son at the same time, because Liu Donghui's family was better off and offered a larger bride price. The Sun family married Kala's son to Liu Donghui. Perhaps what you can't have always seems the best. This incident became Reed Cheng's greatest regret in life. In his previous life, he used my money to buy meat, brown sugar, and nutritional supplements for Kala's son and her daughter. I worked like an ox in their household, even toiling in the fields. From the day I married into their family, his sister-in-law turned into a Lin Dayu, feigning illness or fainting every day, leaving all the chores, washing clothes, cooking, feeding pigs and chickens, to me alone. His parents also seemed to age overnight, suddenly incapable of doing any work, because I was a high school graduate. I had to find time to tutor his nephew, and when the kid didn't do well in exams, they blamed me for not being diligent enough. Scenes from my past life flashed through my mind one by one. Hatred churned inside me, and I suddenly pushed Reed Cheng away. Caught off guard, he fell to the ground. I got out of bed and put on my shoes. "I want a divorce. We haven't gotten our marriage license yet because last time we were about to, Kala's son sprained her ankle, and the time before that, Kala's son's son fell and split his head open. Actually, I'm not old enough to legally get married, because I was very smart as a child. My mom wanted me to start school early and changed my registered age to be 2 years older. Little did she know that after changing my age to enroll, I was too young to even sit still in class. In the end, I ended up repeating first grade for 2 years. In the countryside, holding a wedding banquet is equivalent to getting married. I want to make a big scene and let the whole village know their family is behaving disgracefully, a clear and public cancellation of the engagement. I'm actually quite grateful to Kala's son for repeatedly obstructing my marriage registration. It saved me from the biggest trouble. Reed Cheng, who was just about to curse, instantly shut his mouth and shot a sharp glare at me. The money and coupons were living subsidies from my dad's factory. I saved them by scrimping and saving. Why should I use them to nourish someone else's child? You want it? I curled my lips. Dream on. You. Reed Cheng's face instantly darkened, and he sprang up from the ground in a flash. "Xia Shu, what do you mean by this? Before we got married, You promised to help me take care of Kala and her child together. I could hear the suppressed anger in his tone. I didn't mean anything. I regret it. Take care of yourself. It's none of my business. Are you playing with me? You tricked me into holding the banquet and now you're showing your true colors. Don't think that just because we had the banquet, you're my rightful wife. Don't forget, we haven't registered yet. I can kick you out anytime. At this moment, the mother-in-law entered. You brat. What nonsense are you spouting? She rushed in and slapped Reed Cheng twice. In my previous life, I never truly understood what kind of person my mother-in-law was until the day I died. On the surface, she sided with me and would even scold her son. Yet she never stopped him from taking care of Liu Kala. She knew to warn Reed Cheng's sister-in-law not to bully me and would even reprimand her, sometimes even giving her a few lashes with a willow branch. But secretly, she would give money to his sister-in-law, indulging her laziness and allowing her to avoid work. Such a person. In my past life, I considered her the closest to me. I avoided the hand Reed Cheng's mother reached out to pull me. Aunt Cheng, Reed Cheng is right. We can't be considered husband and wife. We never registered our marriage, nor did we consummate it. Xia Shu. Is it just because I didn't consummate our marriage with you last night? Stop making a scene. Give me the ticket first. Tomorrow we'll transfer the job to Kala. I promise I'll consummate with you. And you won't even have to go to work and suffer anymore. I couldn't even imagine how he managed to say such shameless words. Before I could speak, Reed Cheng's sister-in-law jumped in. Why on earth should our family's job be given to Kala's son? Reed Cheng's mother also looked disapproving. Jobs in town are so valuable now. Even one can sell for 1,000 yuan. Reed Cheng, I wouldn't say anything if you gave Kala's son some small items like needles and thread. Helping occasionally is your kindness. But you can't give away a job. It should go to your sister-in-law. Your brother's family has a son who can take over the job in the future. Mom, Kala is struggling alone with her child. If I don't help her, who will? She has no income. A woman can't even fill her stomach by farming alone. With a job, Kala can support herself and her child with the wages. No, second brother, I'm your sister-in-law, and Little Bao is your own nephew. With a town job, Little Bao can go to school in town. How can you not think about your nephew's future? Reed, a delicate voice called out, and just hearing it made me feel physically sick. Kala's son came holding her child. She had waited at home for a long time, but Reed Cheng never brought the meat coupons. She decided to come and see for herself, just in time to overhear the argument about work. With tears welling up in her eyes, she looked at Reed Cheng's mother, her legs giving way as she knelt down. Auntie, please have mercy on me. It's so hard raising a child alone. After Donghui passed away, I have no one to rely on. Woo-woo. At that moment, I stood by watching the drama unfold. In my past life, I never knew how they eventually reached a consensus. Kala's son. What does your dead husband have to do with our family? You're raising the Sun family's child, so why come asking for a job from our family? Stop crying here. It's useless no matter how much you cry. Sister-in-law Reed Cheng wore a determined expression. Reed Cheng's mother shot her daughter-in-law a glare. Shut up, is that any way to talk? Then she went to help Kala's son up. Kala, Reed Cheng spending money on you is something I've never interfered with. But this job matter really won't do. If word got out that our family gave you the job, it wouldn't look good for your reputation. Don't you agree? And given your own family's behavior, you wouldn't even be able to keep the job. What do you think? But don't worry, once Reed Cheng's work unit assigns him a house, you can move in with the child. When you go to the city, Reed Cheng can set aside part of his salary to help you, and the child can even attend school under his work unit's quota. How does that sound? Only now do I see how shameless this family is. Without even consulting me, the person involved, they've already arranged my job and decided who to send me to. They've even arranged the housing. I never imagined that in my previous life, the idea of taking Kala's son to live in my house was actually Reed Cheng's mother's suggestion. But I don't understand why Reed Cheng's mother would go to such lengths to indulge Kala's son. Kala's son seemed quite pleased with Reed Cheng's mother's proposal. She slowly stood up and, with a pitiful expression, uttered a single word, "Okay." Only I could see the uncontrollable calculation in her eyes. Sister-in-law Reed Cheng wore a satisfied smile. To her, it didn't matter who Reed Cheng gave his money to, as long as the job went to her. Reed Cheng also breathed a sigh of relief, as if the matter was settled just like that. When Kala's son came in earlier, she didn't close the courtyard door properly, so now several aunties were watching the commotion in the yard. As I walked out, I shouted loudly to the aunties outside, "Aunties, did you see that?" Before I could even speak, the Cheng family gave away my job. This family devours people without spitting out the bones. I want a divorce. As soon as these words were spoken, Reed Cheng's gaze immediately turned to me, as if he wanted to tear me to pieces. Reed Cheng's sister-in-law's smile froze on her face. Mrs. Cheng looked as if she had been choked by the throat at this moment. Father Cheng walked over and gave Reed Cheng a meaningful look. "Reed Cheng, why don't you take your wife back inside? Don't embarrass us out here." Understanding the hint, Reed Cheng stepped forward to grab me. I immediately bolted outside, screaming, "Help! The Cheng family is trying to kill me." I ran all the way toward the village chief's house. Many villagers, hearing my cries, came out to watch the commotion. Reed Cheng chased after me, but how could I possibly outrun him? Before I even reached the chief's house, Reed Cheng caught up, grabbed me, and carried me back home. "Help, village chief, help, we're not legally married." Reed Cheng, "Taking me back would be illegal confinement. I'll sue you, I'll make you go to jail, I'll hang myself at your doorstep. Help, my father is a hero. And you're abusing the child of a hero." The village chief still didn't appear, and the villagers only offered verbal because everyone considered this a family matter. There was nothing they could do. "Reed, don't hit your wife when you go back, you've just gotten married, it'll get better with time." "Cheng boy, why haven't you two gotten your marriage license yet?" TSK, not getting it is unacceptable. "Hey, put Xiaxia down right now, let's talk this through properly." Just as we were approaching Reed Cheng's doorstep, my grandmother arrived and stood in front of Reed Cheng. "Reed Cheng, what do you think you're doing? Has our Xia been sold to your family?" Reed Cheng didn't dare to leave at this moment. The accusation of disrespecting elders would reflect poorly on him, especially since he held a job in town. "Grandma, stop, call me Granny Xia. My granddaughter hasn't registered a marriage with you, so I'm not your grandma. Put her down immediately, or this old lady will report you to the police station for forcibly abducting a civilian woman." Hearing this, Reed Cheng's face turned pale. He immediately set me down. At this moment, Reed Cheng's father also came out. "Grandma Xia is here. Please, come inside." "No need, I heard they haven't registered their marriage yet. Without the certificate, they can't be considered husband and wife." "Xia, come home with Grandma." Grandma tried to pull me away, but Mr. Cheng stopped her. "In-law, look. The kids are young and don't understand. It's just a little quarrel between husband and wife. Why take it so seriously? In our countryside, holding a wedding banquet means they're officially married. That's how it's been for generations, isn't it?" "FMPH. What, you think the Communist Party's words don't count anymore? It's been decades since we broke with the four olds and embraced the new society. The radio keeps preaching about a society ruled by law, a society ruled by law. So what, you want to break the law? Don't think this old woman doesn't understand. Let me tell you, Cheng Laosi, without a marriage certificate, it's not a marriage. If you dare to forcibly keep someone, I'll report Reed Cheng for the crime of hooliganism. I, this old woman, have worked as a women's director for half my life. Just try to bully a woman." A few words left Cheng's father speechless. Watching my grandmother argue so fiercely for me, I couldn't stop my tears from flowing. In my past life, when I was held under house arrest, my grandmother never knew about it. At that very moment, the village chief and his wife came running from another direction. Only when I saw the old village chief did I finally breathe a sigh of relief. Actually, I had gone to the village chief's house early in the morning. Seeing the lock on the front door, I knew the chief and his wife must have left before dawn to sell their saved eggs at the market. I slipped the plea for help through the door crack into the village chief's yard. Little did I know it was the end of the month. After selling the eggs, the village chief went straight to the commune to give his summary report. His wife returned home alone, saw the plea for help as soon as she entered the yard, and immediately rushed to the brigade to make a phone call. The village chief hurried back upon receiving the call. while his wife, frantic with worry, waited anxiously at the village entrance. The entire village. I could only turn to the village chief for help, because my father once saved his youngest son from the river. When my father passed away, the village chief said, "If you ever need anything, you must come to your uncle." In truth, in my past life, the village chief secretly sought me out many times, asking if I needed help. He even said that if I wanted a divorce, he could assist me, but back then, it was as if I was under some kind of spell. "Come on, let's go inside and talk. Tell me what's going on." The village chief spoke up, and the villagers followed, crowding into the yard. I supported my grandmother as we returned to the Cheng family with the village chief. As soon as we entered the house, I saw that the lock on my trunk had been pried open. I flung the trunk open. "Who did this?" The eldest sister-in-law of the Cheng family stepped forward defiantly. "I did it. So what? Once you marry into our family, we're all one household. What's wrong with me taking a look at your dowry? Who knew you were just putting on airs with a shabby trunk? There wasn't even a damn thing inside. I'm reporting this to the police. This is theft. Even if I hadn't married into your family yet, you have no right to pry open my lock. This is the behavior of a thief." When his sister-in-law heard about reporting to the police, she felt a bit guilty. When I opened the box, it was already empty. Why report to the police? This box wasn't empty when it was carried in yesterday. Brother Zhong and Brother who carried the dowry, can come in and try lifting it now. At that moment, Brother Zhong and Brother who were watching the commotion, were present. The two of them lifted it and said, "No, this was much heavier yesterday." Cheng's sister-in-law was dumbfounded. "You short-sighted fool, old Mrs." Cheng immediately slapped Cheng's sister-in-law. Aunt Cheng covered her face with a pitiful expression. Reed Cheng glared at Aunt Cheng with resentment. Old man Cheng, seeing his son's expression, thought that his son had managed to retrieve the items last night, and now his sister-in-law had ruined his plans. Meanwhile, Reed Cheng believed that his sister-in-law had hidden all the items away because he had watched her pack the dowry items himself, for the sake of his sister-in-law's dignity. And for his son's face, old Cheng said, "Why involve the police? Let's discuss what's inside and compensate you with money." I was delighted to hear this. I wanted to reclaim what was owed from my past life. Cash plus the value of the items, including bedsheets and clothes, totaling 400 yuan. Old Cheng nearly stumbled and fell. "How much? You really dare to ask for that much?" "My dad's factory gave me a living allowance of 30 yuan per month until I graduated from high school this year, totaling 4 years and 3 months, which comes to 530 yuan. I gave my uncle 15 yuan per month for living expenses, leaving me with 765 yuan. Before I could finish, there were gasps all around. Didn't Uncle Xia Shu say Xia Shu didn't give any money? Exactly, that Dong Qiao even said they had been supporting Xia Shu for over 4 years for nothing. But 15 yuan a month was enough to cover the whole family's living expenses. Oh, how heartless, just like her mother. Her mother was a stepmother, and she was terrible too. TSK, I continued. Apart from spending 180 yuan on a watch for Reed Cheng at my wedding and 60 yuan on a set of clothes for her mother. Alright, stop talking, I'll give you the money. Before I could even finish calculating how much I should have left, Reed Cheng cut me off. In the end, the old lady came out of the room with 400 yuan and handed it to me. I then reached out to Reed Cheng again. "Give me back the money for the watch and the clothes I bought for your mom and your sister-in-law, totaling 312 yuan. Reed Cheng flew into a rage. "Xia Shu, that's enough, don't push your luck. What do you mean? I'm not marrying you anymore, and your family didn't give a single cent for the betrothal gifts. Can't I even take back what's mine? Are you a robber?" Reed Cheng's veins bulged as he gritted his teeth and said, "Mom, give her the money." This time, old lady Cheng was unwilling. "Why should I? Our family spent money on the banquet yesterday. Isn't this a marriage scam?" I pointed to my forehead. "If you don't return it to me, I'll report it to the police and sue you." What is this called? Abuse of women. In the end, I happily received 712 yuan. I know this is essentially most of the Cheng family's assets because, in my previous life, not long after I married into their family, old Mrs. Cheng fell ill. The family emptied their savings to scrape together 1,200, just enough to save Reed Cheng's mother. I wonder how his mother will fare in this life without the life-saving money. The old village chief took a drag of his cigarette and said, "Now that we've settled the money issue, let's talk about calling off the engagement. Since there's no marriage certificate, let's just drop it." "No." Reed Cheng and his mother exclaimed in unison. I looked at Reed Cheng. "Are you trying to force me into marriage, Xia Shu? Wasn't it you who was eager to marry me back then? Wasn't it you who agreed to take care of Kala's son and her child? Wasn't it you who volunteered to give up your job?" Hearing this, I wished I could drown my past self in a bucket of piss. I exhaled a heavy breath. Yes, I was the one who rushed to marry you back then. But now I regret it. What am I not allowed to regret? I don't want to jump into this fire pit anymore. Since I've already regretted it and decided not to marry you, the subsequent promises naturally become meaningless. I'm no longer your fiancé, so why should I take care of your little first love, if I'm not marrying you? Why should I give your family the job my father exchanged with his life? Reed Cheng's expression changed instantly, the anger on his face disappearing. He sighed, his tone suddenly becoming gentle. "Xia, all right. Stop being temperamental." Looking at the fake, nauseating smile on his face, I wanted to slap myself even more. Why did it take dying once to finally open my eyes? I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have run out yesterday without consummating our marriage. I just thought, since Donghui is gone, and Huzi is his only bloodline, I was afraid something might happen. Can you forgive me? I promise from now on, I'll discuss everything with you. Even if I help them, I'll get your approval first. We can talk about work later. I promise we'll go get our marriage certificate this afternoon, so you'll feel secure. Are you trying to trick me into getting the certificate so you can lock me up? I directly exposed his true intentions. You insisted on carrying me back despite my resistance. Isn't it obvious you just want to keep me under house arrest? At this moment, I finally understood that in my past life, the decision to confine me was likely also the idea of this seemingly honest father-in-law. The village chief then spoke up. Marriage should be voluntary. Since Shu refuses, this engagement is hereby cancelled. From now on, both parties are free to marry others without interference. Zhong, return the dowry box to Shu. Although the Cheng family was unwilling, with the village chief having spoken, they couldn't actually force the marriage. The village chief stood up to leave. Wait a moment. Uncle Village Chief. I pulled Grandma aside and whispered a few words to her. With tears in her eyes, Grandma nodded. I held my grandmother's hand, comforting her heart with my warmth. Since everyone is here today, I'd like to ask you to make a decision for me once more. I'm already 18 and have graduated. I want to sell the brick house my father left me, as well as my grandmother's house. As soon as these words were spoken, the room immediately erupted in commotion. The reason I wanted to sell the houses was because I knew that with my own strength alone, I couldn't drive away my uncle's family. Even if I did, I wouldn't be living in the village long term, and they would surely damage the houses. Grandma and I have offended the Cheng family today, and I already knew from my past life how wicked the Chengs can be. If someone's dog poops in their field, they would definitely find a way to kill that dog. Living in the same village as such people would bring endless trouble. My mother was Grandma's only child. Although Grandma has siblings in this village, they are all elderly. How could they have the energy to look after her? Uncle's family won't easily back down either, so we might as well go all the way. I might as well sell the house and use the money to buy one in town, so I can bring Grandma to live with me. My grandmother's house was also a brick tile house renovated by my father. Someone once asked if my grandmother would sell it, but she refused. At that time, she wanted to wait there for my mother to come home. In my previous life, even until my death, my mother never appeared again. I never understood why. In my memory, my mother was very filial. So how could she just leave my grandmother without a word? As my thoughts returned to the present, someone asked about the house price. After some bargaining, and considering that my uncle's family was living there, making it troublesome for the buyer to evict them, we finally settled on 600 yuan. My grandmother's house sold for even more than mine, 750 yuan. Because the yard was particularly large and there were no complications, They were both sold to two families preparing for weddings next year. To avoid complications, we directly signed the agreement between us and went to the town's property bureau in the afternoon to complete the transfer. They also agreed that we could move out of my grandmother's house within 6 months, giving us time to find a new place. After paying the deposit and signing the agreement, my uncle's family immediately came over upon hearing the news. My aunt scolded me harshly. "You heartless girl. Who told you to break off the engagement? Back when your father passed away, how much did the Cheng family help us? How can you be so ungrateful?" Not a single word was mentioned about the house. Auntie really knows how to manipulate. She's aware they have no grounds when it comes to the house. "Auntie, back then the whole village helped out. Does that mean I have to marry every single person who lent a hand? Your father died early too, and your mother raised your brother and you with the village's help. Did she repay everyone by sleeping with them? Wait, I remember your mother later married an outsider. That family hadn't even moved here when your dad died, right?" My aunt's face immediately changed. She sat on the ground, slapping her legs and crying, "I've raised you for so many years for nothing. You ungrateful wretch. Here, auntie, you live in my house, and I pay for living expenses. You didn't raise me for nothing. I even have to help you wash clothes and cook. You're talking nonsense. When did you ever give me living expenses? Woo-woo, you're so young and already know how to lie. I'm your aunt, and I've been so good to you. How can you be so heartless?" "Xia, don't be silly. Marriage is not a game. The wedding banquet has already been held, which means you're married. Live well with Reed Cheng. Reed Cheng is a good child." Such high-sounding words, spoken so beautifully. "Uncle, I'm 18 years old now. I can take care of my own affairs." "Auntie, do you know why I always have you press your fingerprint whenever I give you money? I've kept them all, because they're evidence, everyone." Yes, that was the only time I was ever clever in my life. Though I wouldn't really call it clever, because the village chief's youngest son taught me. Back when he hadn't joined the army yet, after my dad passed away, he always secretly helped me. At first, I gave all 30 yuan of the monthly allowance to my aunt. When he saw me giving all the money to my aunt, he gave me an idea. "You only need to give half for living expenses. If you don't have any money yourself, what will you do if they don't pay your tuition in the future?" I listened to this older brother very carefully, because ever since my dad saved him, he always protected me like a guardian. I decided to give him 15, and he taught me again, telling me to prepare a notebook and have her sign every time I gave her money. Otherwise, what if they ask for living expenses when I grow up? I thought that made a lot of sense, but my aunt couldn't write. My brother didn't know where he got me a box of ink from, so every time, he had my aunt put her handprint. Later, I finally found out where the ink came from, because he was beaten up by Uncle Village Chief, and Uncle Village Chief's ink was lost. I never thought these handprints would actually become evidence now. Auntie's eyes were about to burst. "Uncle, I've sold my house. You should move back to the old house soon." "What? You sold it and broke off the engagement? Where will you live in the future?" "I'm going to buy a house in town, then instead of selling it to someone else." "You might as well sell it to your uncle." "Uncle is right. So how much are you planning to buy it for?" "Uncle," I said, smiling at this blood relative, who was the last straw that broke the camel's back in my previous life. He was quite clever and didn't quote a price directly. "Whatever price you sell it for to others. I'll give you that much. Don't worry, your uncle won't shortchange you. It's fine to give a bit more." As soon as he said this, some villagers started to question me. Exactly. Why didn't this girl ask her uncle first if he wanted it? How could she just sell it to an outsider? That's right, she's heartless. Doesn't even understand the principle of favoring family by 3 parts. No wonder they say you can't raise someone else's child to be loyal. Faced with all these comments, I couldn't care less. "Alright, I'll buy it for 3,600 from outsiders, but you give me 3,500, Grandma, and I still need to buy a house where I work. Or else we'll be left homeless on the streets." Uncle's eyes flickered. "Fine. Then tear up the previous agreement." The previous buyer was about to get angry, but I stopped him with a look. "Uncle, pay the deposit first. I've already taken a 300 yuan deposit from someone else. If I sell to another buyer, I'll have to compensate them 600. Uncle also wants to sign an agreement with me. If the full payment isn't made within 3 days, the deposit won't be refunded. I'm looking for someone to buy it." Uncle couldn't stay calm. His whole family is lazy and gluttonous. They couldn't even come up with the deposit, let alone afford to buy a house. "I'm your own uncle. Why do I still have to pay a deposit? Even brothers must settle accounts clearly. But as far as I know, your family doesn't even have money to renovate the old house. Otherwise, you wouldn't have lived in my place for so many years. Where would you get the money to buy a house? Your uncle will give you an IOU first and slowly pay you back later." Everyone around, "Is he trying to get something for nothing?" Even the village chief laughed. "All right, this matter is settled then. Everyone can go back now. We'll go to the town together this afternoon to handle the formalities." Auntie kept scratching and hitting Uncle all the way as they left, scolding him non-stop. "Brother Jong and second brother, please help me carry my boxes to Grandma's house." Grandma and I had a simple lunch, and in the afternoon, we smoothly completed the property transfer. I also received the money. I immediately deposited all the money into the credit union. I now have 684 yuan in hand. My grandmother gave me a passbook with 200 yuan in it, which I haven't touched because it's her retirement savings. I wasn't in a hurry to go back. I bought some cakes for my grandmother at the supply and marketing cooperative and then wandered around the area, trying to find out if there were any houses for sale nearby. Actually, housing is quite tight these days because, in recent years, educated youth returning to the cities have faced challenges with both jobs and housing. In the end, I returned empty-handed and came home to watch some excitement. In the morning, Uncle tried to undermine the deal, which made the buyer furious. A notice was issued. If they didn't move out within 3 days, their belongings would be thrown out. Uncle is a bully at home, and Aunt has no support from her own family. With only my father as his brother, Uncle has also alienated many relatives due to his petty nature. No one was willing to stand up for him now. Left with no choice, Uncle's family began packing up their old house. A large section of the old house's wall had already collapsed. He started borrowing money from everywhere. After that, I started going to town every day to look for a house, searching for half a month straight, but they were either too run down or too expensive. In the end, I gave up. I decided to rent a place first, thinking that buying a house would have to wait for the right opportunity to come along. The sooner I rent a place, the sooner I can report to my new job. Zia Shu, I'm having lunch with my grandmother when someone outside calls my name. I go out to see it's the village chief's daughter, Sister Xianxia. "Come in quickly. Have you eaten?" She smiles warmly. "My brother has returned, and my mother wants you to come over for dinner." Brother Yuanheng is back. Xie Yuanheng was the village chief's youngest son. I remembered that in my previous life, he never came home, the village chief's wife, because he was always in the army and wouldn't get married, truly worried herself sick. I went back to the yard, caught a chicken, and followed Xianxia to the village chief's house. "Why did you catch a chicken? Take it back quickly." "Sister Xianxia, my grandma and I are moving, and these things need to be dealt with anyway. We might as well add a dish to our meal." Sister Xianxia no longer refused. As soon as we entered the yard, the food was already on the table. The village chief's wife took the chicken from my hand. "We'll eat this tonight." Jinghong was the village chief's eldest grandson, 12 years old this year. The village chief's wife gave Jinghong a basket. "Take these to Grandma Zia." "Auntie, no need, my grandma has already eaten." But the village chief's wife still insisted on having Jinghong deliver the meal. In my past life, my grandmother never even drank a sip of water from the Cheng family. Seeing my big brother after 4 years apart, I could hardly believe it. The once frail, sickly boy had now become a tough man. The silver stars on his shoulder straps gleamed coldly in the twilight. His brow sharp as a blade, the slight droop at the corners of his eyes hiding a hint of languor. When he turned to look at me, the high bridge of his nose cast a clean shadow across his profile, his jawline taut as a bowstring, the faint curve of his lips like thin winter ice, his stern demeanor exuding a natural, unyielding dominance. "Zia, you're here." The rich, magnetic, and familiar voice brought me an infinite sense of security. I felt my cheeks burning, utterly embarrassed. Never did I expect that even after living 2 lifetimes, I would still blush at the sight of a man. The village chief's wife gave me a meaningful smile. After dinner, the village chief's wife walked me home and went alone to the bedroom to chat with my grandmother. Later I learned that Brother Yuanheng had come back for me. Every time he called, he would ask about my situation. When he heard about my broken engagement during a recent call, he immediately requested leave from the military. Grandma asked for my opinion, and my cheeks flushed red as I shyly lowered my head. Grandma understood my feelings. The very next day, the village chief and his wife indeed came to our door with a matchmaker. My condition was simple: I would always live with Grandma. He agreed completely. In the capital city where his military unit was stationed, his division commander had already promised to assign him a separate courtyard for us to live in. He asked me to bring my grandmother along to join the military camp. The village chief's youngest son proposing to me became the talk of the entire village. Some scolded me for being unchaste, saying I got engaged right after breaking off a previous betrothal. Others criticized Brother Yuanheng for being an old cow eating young grass, a 26-year-old marrying an 18-year-old bride. Some also said I was lucky to marry a company commander. In this life, I don't care what others say. He had limited leave. So he mailed the documents to the military, and we started preparing for the wedding here. Because I was going to follow the military, I gave my job at the machinery factory to Sister Xianxia. After the Cheng family found out about this, it said that old man Cheng beat Reed Cheng. Because Reed Cheng had delayed getting married to me, the village chief's family gave me a total of 1666. 666 was for the bride price, and they gave me an additional 1,000 yuan, saying it was money for buying a job. I didn't want the money for buying a job, but Yuanheng forced it into my hand. He said, "Money is a woman's security." Having lived 2 lifetimes, I truly believe that statement is the truth. We held the wedding banquet 3 days later. On our wedding night, Yuanheng carried me to the bed, his gaze burning with passion as he said to me, "Xia, actually, I liked you even before I joined the military." I punched him lightly. I wasn't even 14 back then. You. He leaned down with a smile and kissed my forehead. "Do you know why I joined the military?" I shook my head. He cupped my face. "Because the moment I saw you, I wanted to kiss you. I was afraid I'd make a mistake. So I ran away to join the army, waiting for you to grow up before coming back to marry you. But when I found out you were engaged, I regretted so much that I had joined the army. If I had known, I would rather have made a mistake than let you be with someone else. I thought I was destined to grow old alone, but who knew heaven would take pity? You called off the engagement, and I knew my chance had come." My face flushed. What was this feeling? My heart was racing. "Xia, you're my darling from now on. I'll make you very happy." Everything fell into place. He was fully prepared, saying he would have children after he turned 20. As having them too early would be harmful to the body. In the coming days, I feel a bit afraid of the dark. 10 days later, we received the marriage application report from the military, and we went to get our marriage certificate that very day. He bought a lot of candy and handed it out to the staff at the Civil Affairs Bureau. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, we walked hand in hand as he took me to a photo studio, where we took our wedding photos. He bought me many beautiful clothes and little leather shoes. During this time, because I was eating well, I had gained some weight. Standing in front of the dressing mirror, looking at my youthful and pretty self, I deeply realized how important a woman's choices are. My house was sold almost a month ago. That day, the aunt who bought the house came to me and handed me a piece of paper, saying she found it hidden in the brick crevices of the cellar while cleaning. When I opened it, my eyes nearly burst with rage. Yuanheng accompanied me to report the case at the local police station. It turned out that after my father passed away, my uncle's family coveted our property and confined my mother. Locking her in that very cellar, they spread the word that my mother had run away. My mother was beautiful. One night, my uncle tried to assault her, but she fought back and injured him before running away. However, she was caught and brought back. This scene was witnessed by Reed Cheng, who happened to be up late due to a stomachache. Later, Reed Cheng secretly visited the cellar after school to check on the situation. My mother borrowed a pen and paper from him and wrote this letter, documenting the crimes committed by my uncle's family. Reed Cheng ignored my mother's plea for help and didn't tell anyone. After the local police arrested my uncle's family and interrogated them, my uncle finally confessed that my mother had died. She had fallen off a cliff while trying to escape again as he chased her. The police searched the bottom of the cliff and indeed found the remains of a woman. Reed Cheng also used this incident to threaten my uncle's family, making them give up helping me. My uncle's family was all arrested. My uncle and aunt were sentenced to death, and their property and assets were given to me as compensation for emotional distress. The rest of those who knew but did not report were punished accordingly. I hated Reed Cheng even more. In my previous life, he knew everything but didn't report it or tell me. Reed Cheng was charged with harboring a criminal, which led to him losing his job. Without income, his family no longer had the loving mother and filial son dynamic. Reed Cheng had no money to give Kala's son, and Kala's son stopped paying attention to Reed Cheng. A few days later, Reed Cheng's good buddy Liu Donghui returned to the village, causing a sensation throughout the entire village. Reed Cheng could hardly believe that his supposedly dead brother was actually alive. It turned out that Liu Donghui had never been in any trouble. Because he was idle and jobless, unable to support his wife and children, he went to the city alone to earn money, but fearing that his family would be left uncared for. He came up with a plan to fake his own death. He knew Reed Cheng had feelings for his wife. Kala's son couldn't stop Liu Donghui, so she had no choice but to pin her hopes on Reed Cheng. To keep Reed Cheng tied down, Kala's son told him the child was his. Reed Cheng often drank with Liu Donghui, and there was indeed one time when he got drunk and assaulted Kala's son. Cheng's mother also believed the child was Reed Cheng's, so she never stopped him from giving money. Reed Cheng devoted himself wholeheartedly to taking care of his wife and children. He also made money outside, but he started a new family. However, his new wife gave birth to a girl. There was no other way. Now that he had money, he wanted a son to inherit his legacy, so he came back to take his son. Kala's son refused to give him up, so Liu Donghui offered $2,000 to buy him out. In the end, Kala's son sold her own son to Liu Donghui for $2,000. Since the two had never registered their marriage, they also avoided the hassle of divorce. Reed Cheng refused to let Liu Donghui take the child away because he always believed the child was his. Liu Donghui beat Reed Cheng up and took Huzi away, telling him, "Let me be honest with you, Reed Cheng. The child is biologically mine, it's just that we couldn't afford to raise him, so Kala's son came up with the idea of having you take care of him." Reed Cheng went to confront Kala's son, but she had her own way of handling him. She simply coaxed him back into bed. Yuan Hang returned driving a military vehicle. "After burying my mother, I gave away or sold all the household belongings and then took my grandmother with me to follow Yuan Hang to the capital city. In the military compound of the capital city, we were assigned a 2-story house with a yard. Yuan Hang held my hand with one hand and supported Grandma with the other, saying, 'Grandma, from now on, this will be our home.' The next day, Grandma took me to her bedroom and opened one of the cloth bundles. Inside were ancient paintings and small goldfish. Back then, Grandma's family background was considered unfavorable, and it was only after marrying a poor farmer that her status changed. However, even after the family's assets were confiscated, she managed to secretly keep some. I didn't have a job, so I started my own business and benefited from the opportunities of the times. During the new year when I returned to my hometown, I listened to my mother-in-law share village gossip with me. Kala's son and Reed Cheng got married, and the Cheng family also split up. The reason was that Reed Cheng's mother fell seriously ill, couldn't afford medical treatment, gave up, and passed away. Reed Cheng's father then married a widow, and the household became chaotic every day. Huzi was sent back. It was said that not long after Liu Donghui took Huzi away, his new wife became pregnant, and it was said to be a boy. Huzi, afraid that the birth of a boy would affect his status, tried to push the new wife into the water during an outing. The new wife had already noticed his scheme and quietly avoided him, causing Huzi to fall in himself. The river wasn't deep, but a rock pierced and blinded one of Huzi's eyes. Liu Donghui then sent Huzi back, and now Reed Cheng is still taking care of him. Yuan Heng held my hand as we walked in the snow and saw Liu Kala in a tattered cotton-padded jacket, leading the one-eyed Huzi by the hand.